Welcome to Phrasal Verb Practice. This is the place to learn real English, one phrasal verb at a time. My name is Marissa, and I'll walk you through this learning journey. Hi team, I hope everyone's having a good day. Let's learn and practice the phrasal verb fall for. So let's start with how we actually use the phrasal verb fall for in real life. First, one very common use. When we say fall for someone, we mean starting to feel romantic attraction or love for that person. It's usually something emotional, and it often happens without planning it. For example, she fell for him during their first trip together. I didn't expect it, but I fell for her very quickly. He fell for someone he met at work. Now, there's another meaning that's also very common. We also use fall for when someone believes something that isn't true, usually a trick, a lie, or a scam. For example, he fell for the fake email. I can't believe I fell for that excuse. She almost fell for the scam. So, what's the idea that connects both meanings? Basically, when we use fall for, we're talking about letting emotions or judgment take control instead of being careful. Now, let's quickly connect this idea to other languages. In Spanish, fall for can mean enamorarse de or caer en un engaño. In French, it's tomber amoureux de or se laisser tromper. In Portuguese, apaixonar-se por or cair num golpe. In Italian, innamorarsi di or cascarci. In German, sich in jemanden verlieben or darauf hereinfallen. In Japanese, koi ni ochiru or damasareru. And in Chinese, aishang or zhangdang. So, when do people usually use the phrasal verb fall for? People use fall for when they talk about developing romantic feelings. They use it when emotions are involved. They also use it when someone believes a lie or a false promise. And often it's used when trust turns into a mistake. Let's look at a few clear examples to recap everything. She fell for him without even noticing it. I never thought I would fall for a coworker. He fell for a story that wasn't true. Don't fall for online offers that seem too good. They fell for each other over time. Now, let's talk about how fall for works grammatically. The key point is that fall for is inseparable. That means we don't split it. The structure is simple. Fall for plus person or thing. For example, she fell for him. He fell for the trick. We can't move the object, so something like she fell him for is not correct. With pronouns, it's the same rule. They always come after for. For example, she fell for him. Just to recap the verb forms. Present, fall for. Past, fell for. Participle, fallen for. Now let's practice. First, you're going to hear a short text from everyday life. Then you'll hear another text in a professional or office context. Are you ready? Let's start. Last year, I promised myself I would be more careful with people and decisions. I had already fallen for a few bad ideas, and I didn't want to repeat the same mistakes. Still, real life has a way of testing you when you least expect it. It started with a new neighbor who moved in across the street. We talked while taking out the trash, then started running into each other at the coffee shop. I told myself to stay calm, but little by little, I fell for him. It wasn't dramatic. It was simple. Long conversations, shared jokes, and that feeling of comfort that shows up quietly. My sister warned me not to rush things, but she could tell I had already fallen for him. Around the same time, my phone started filling up with messages about a limited time online sale. The prices looked amazing. I almost clicked the link, but then I remembered how I once fell for something similar and spent weeks trying to fix the mess. I closed the app and laughed at myself for almost falling for it again. One afternoon, my friend came over feeling upset. She had trusted someone at work and completely fell for his promises. She felt embarrassed, but we talked it through. We reminded each other that everyone falls for things sometimes, especially when emotions are involved. A few weeks later, my neighbor admitted he had been nervous too. He said he didn't expect to fall for someone so easily. Hearing that made everything feel lighter. It felt honest. It felt real. Now when I think about it, I realize how often we fall for people, ideas, and stories, both good and bad. The key is learning when it's worth it and when it's not. I know I'll probably fall for something again someday, but at least now I notice it sooner, smile, and choose what to do next. Great, that was the first text. How many times did you hear the phrasal verb of the day? Now let's move on to the second text. Last quarter, our team started working with a new client, and everyone was excited about the opportunity. The proposal looked great on paper, and during the first meetings, it was easy to fall for the energy and confidence they brought into the room. They talked about growth, long-term plans, and fast decisions. And at first, we all felt motivated. A few weeks in, I noticed some red flags. Deadlines kept moving, and answers to simple questions were vague. During one meeting, our manager reminded us not to fall for big promises without clear details. It wasn't said harshly, just calmly, like a reminder to stay focused and professional. At the same time, there was another situation happening internally. A new teammate joined our department, and we started collaborating closely on a project. We spent long hours reviewing reports, fixing issues, and supporting each other. Without really planning it, I realized I was starting to fall for the way we worked together. It wasn't about romance in an obvious way. It was more about trust, respect, and feeling understood in a busy work environment. Later that month, an email circulated about a must-join training program that promised instant results. Some people almost signed up immediately. I remembered a similar situation from a previous job and warned my team not to fall for something just because it sounded impressive. After checking the details, we realized it wasn't what it claimed to be. By the end of the project, we had learned a lot. We didn't fall for unrealistic timelines, and we pushed back when things didn't make sense. At the same time, I accepted that I had fallen for working with someone who made my job better every day. Looking back, work is full of moments like these. You fall for ideas, people, and opportunities. Sometimes it leads to growth. Other times, it teaches you to pause, ask questions, and choose more carefully. Great, that was the second text, and that's all for today. Thank you so much for following this channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.